Welcome to today's tutorial. I know the last time I was here, I promised I'll be a lot more consistent in my tutorials, but I have not been consistent, and I'm sorry about that. I have been quite busy, and life happens. But I'm here right now, and today we'll be working on something very, very interesting. We'll be working on creating an animated dashboard. So we'll be creating an animated dashboard, an animated graph on this dashboard. So this design will, you can use this kind of design in your Web3 dashboard, your fintech dashboard, or whatever project it is you're designing that requires you creating another dashboard. As you can see, I already designed my screen just to save us time. This file will be made available in the description on this video, so you can always duplicate and make your own or see how I did it again, just in case you do not have time to go through develop this video. So I already have my scene ready. I already created everything I need. All I just need to do is add my graph to this design. And to add my graph, I start off by drawing a frame. I'll hit the F button on my keyboard to draw a frame. And then I draw a frame that stretches to the end of my grid line here. So I already have a container beneath here that holds this two information portal, right, where you can buy your coin and the price starts. So and if you look at the main container, the size is 1020, so I want to maintain that same size with my graph container, so I'm going to the size is to 1020. And for now I want to turn off my grid. I'm done using my grid. And another thing I want to do is I want to add a fill color to this, so you can see the color of this. So this is going to be grayed out now for now. And I need to place them exactly right here. Another thing I need to do is make sure that maybe I need to increase the size of this frame and see the spacing. So the spacing is 33, which is wrong because the spacing I put here is 24. So the horizontal spacing I put between these two containers is 24. So I need to maintain that same consistency in spacing between the graph frame and the container frame down here. So what do I need to do? I can either increase this a bit and let me see, 26, and I change this to 24. And I think this is good. So we have something to work with already. This is where our graph is going to be. So I'm just giving it this color now just for you to see it. So the next thing I want to do is, it's a graph, right? And we need to draw the graph, right? We need to draw all the elements in the graph. So in this graph, we are going to have probably the timestamp. We are working with the Web3 product, and this is, we want to see Bitcoin growth in the last, let's see, 24 hours or 1 hour. We'll be working with 1 hour just for this product. We want to see the growth rates. We want to see the current stats of Bitcoin using this graph. So the first thing you need to do is you need to start drawing your graph, right? So to draw my graph, I'm going to hit the R button, which is the rectangle. R button on my keyboard, which is a rectangle. So I draw a rectangle, and this is my rectangle, right? I bring my rectangle into this frame. You'll see why I'm drawing the rectangle. A line that worked, yes, a line can work too. But because some people are completely new to Figma, so I'm going to be using a rectangle to make this work. Lines can be a bit more complicated for newbies to Figma. So a rectangle, and I'm going to stretch this rectangle to the end of this frame, and also do that to the end. Yeah. So what I want to do now is press enter. Remember, look at my design. I am still selecting my rectangle, so I need to make sure that my selection is on my rectangle, not on my frame. So my selection is on my rectangle, and then what I need to do next, press enter. Once I press enter, you can see I have entered I think it's called the vector mode in Figma. I am not sure about that. I could be wrong about the name. So what I want to do is, if you notice, once you press enter, you will notice all these points, and the points are the four corners and in the middle, right? So we for now, I don't want to touch the ones at the four corners. I just want to touch the one in the middle. The one in the middle will be made available multiple times across as you're stretching them. So let me show you. So I select this and sorry about that. I select this one in the middle here, I bring it down here. So you can see the shape of my rectangle is beginning to change, right? I bring it down here. See, another point has come up here for me. So all I need to do is drag this here. I'm just trying to show a growth graph to show the growth of Bitcoin over the last couple of hours. So we're using 1 hour, like I said. So I think this is fine. I can do this too. I can make this go like this. Put another one here too. So you see, okay, I don't want to go as high as that. Let me drop this down a bit. I don't want to go as high as that. So let me drop them down a bit. Let me drop this two down because I don't want to go as high as that because I probably might be putting a stamp here, a timestamp here, or a period stamp, not a timestamp, a period stamp that is 1 day to 1 day, last 24 hours, the last 1 week, the last 3 months, the last 6 months, the period stamp of the growth of this cryptocurrency, which is Bitcoin. So I think I am good right now in terms of my graph. So I press enter. Another thing I want to do is I want to change this color. I want to make this a gradient color. So first of all, let me go and remove the color attached to the frame itself. So I've made it colorless. So now you can see my graph here, but then I need to make this a gradient graph. And like I said, we are working with a successful profit in terms of Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is on the rise. Bitcoin, there's a profit. So we are definitely using green. And I'm switching it to a gradient. So I'm going to move this point. I'm going to turn this from horizontal to vertical. So from top to bottom, right? And if you notice, I do not like these two colors. I do not like the dark green showing here. I want it to be the same green I was using. So I'm going to select it, the same green. I'll probably bring the opacity down to say 0%. I think 0% is good. 0% is good, and I can then stretch this one up here. I can take this up here a bit. I think this makes more sense. All right, 0%. And maybe my main one, I might reduce. I should try to reduce it. So, okay, I think this is good. So we have this. So we already have our graph ready for us. But then this is not done yet. So what I want to do is I want to bring out this graph from here. I want to pull out this graph. Another thing we are going to need is pointers, pointers. So I'll show you what the pointer is. I'll press A on my keyboard to draw an ellipse. So I draw an ellipse. The ellipse is quite big, so I'm going to bring this down to say 10. 10. Okay, I think 10 is fine. So basically the pointers are they are going to be on places like this. So when we tap on them, we are going to see what Bitcoin cost at this point. Do you understand what Bitcoin cost at this point? So for this pointer, I'm going to be going with the green again, or let me go with the blue, which is the brand that we're using, the blue, right? And then I'm going to give it a white stroke. And the stroke is going to be outside. And I'm going to expand it this way. Let's increase the stroke to 4. So I already have one pointer that I am going to use, and I already have my my graph here, right? So let me bring out my pointer, and let me name this pointer. So anytime I hit it, I can say Holybox, right? I should change this to a component because I'll reuse this multiple times. So let me quickly change it to a component because I'm going to use this pointer multiple times. So this pointer is already a component that I'm going to use. So now I have my graph here. I have my pointer here. I have, I duplicated my graph, right? So I do not need this one that's here. But then let me leave it there just for, just to leave it there. No real reason leaving it there for now. I'm still going to delete them. So back to what I was saying. So now we want to draw another rectangle, right? And remember the size of this rectangle. The size of this rectangle was 1020. So we are going to press the R on our keyboard again, R, and draw a rectangle and stretch it to, or let me just put 1020. I think that's fine. And now I am going to place it right above my graph. So it is not beneath my graph. You can see that it is covering my graph now. So it is covering my graph. My graph is somewhere beneath it here, as you can see, while it comes above. And I'm trying to make them the same height, the same width. They are the same width and the same height. So what you need to do now is select both of them. Select both of them. So I have selected both of them. As you can see, my graph is a bit bigger than my rectangle. So what I want to do is I want to bring down the rectangle size to match my graph size. So yeah, it matches my graph size. So this is this. And what I want to do now is I want to mask this. I want to mask this. So if I mask this, you'll see what it looks like. So I have masked this. As you can see, it takes the color of the rectangle that we did. So it already defeats our gradients that we created earlier. So it's easy for us to fix that. All I just need to do is come down to the gradient here. All I just need to do is come down to the gradient here and save it as a star and call this, let's call this gradients. Let's call this gradients. Yeah, so I'm going to come down here, select this again. Sorry about that. I'm going to come down to my mask, then click on the rectangle in my mask, then go down and click on gradient. Yes, gradient. So it is here now. The gradient is here now. But if you notice, the gradient is not as I would want it to be in terms of color. So all I can do is just come down to disconnect my gradient and change this from 42% to maybe 100%. So I'm going to move this to 100%. Yes, I'm moving to 100%. My gradient shows better now. And I can now delete the one in there. I don't need it anymore. So as you can see, we already have this here. We already have our graph here, right? Let's pull the graph out again and continue. So our frame is still here. Don't forget. Meanwhile, we are working with our mask right now. So if you notice this mask, you notice that we have a rectangle. We have two rectangles. One is the graph. So I'm going to rename this as the graph, saying the node. I'm going to rename this as the graph and leave this as rectangle and just call it rectangle and leave this as rectangle. So if I click on only the rectangle in the mask, notice this is the mask. Okay, let me change the name of the mask to graph masks. So when you're working on your personal files, you can be able to understand. So this is the rectangle and this is the graph. Notice that when I click on the rectangle and I use my arrow button on my keyboard, my left or right arrow button to move this, you can see that the graph is disappearing, right? So are you getting what we are trying to do now? We are getting somewhere. So I have done that successfully. I have successfully created this mask. So what I want to do is I want to put this graph mask in another frame. So I'm going to say Control Alt G on Windows, Command Alt G on Windows. Command Option G on Mac. Sorry about that. So all I have to do is put them in here, right? So this is a frame, and I'm going to call this frame graph. Perfect. I have the graphs ready for me. So what do we need to do next? We need to start creating our animation for the graph, right? So I'm going to duplicate this into two, right? or don't let me duplicate it here. Let me start using my pointers now. So I will need my pointers as I go on. So now I'm going to get one of my pointers and put them here. So because I'll be using pointers multiple times, that's why I said that's why I turned my pointer to a component. So now I'm going to need this pointer again. All I just have to do is press Control D if you're using Windows, or Command D if you're using a Mac. So I've duplicated that. Command D again, duplicate another one and bring it down here. Command D, duplicate another one, bring it down here. So you keep duplicating till we are satisfied. We want it to be at every point we want it to touch. So literally, that's what we'll be doing, duplicating all of this. So I think we are good here. So another thing we need for this graph is a tooltip, right? A tooltip is basically something that will tell us, that will give us information, right? It's a card that gives us information. So to create a tooltip, here's what I want to do to create a tooltip. You have to first draw a rectangle. I draw a rectangle, pressing the R on my keyboard, and then I resize my rectangle to something like this, and I bring it into my graph. I'm just bringing it here temporarily. I just want to see how it's going to look here. I bring it into my graph, and all right, I think it's going to be fine like this. Let me see. From here, jumps here, jumps here, jumps here, jumps here. Okay, so good. So I'm taking it out of my frame now. I've taken it out of that graph frame. It is on its own. The rectangle is there. And then I press R. When I press R, R is a rectangle, right? But now we are changing it to a polygon, right? It's no longer a rectangle, so we are drawing up a polygon. So a polygon is this. So this polygon is literally the tip of our toolbar, of our tooltip, rather. This is going to be the tip of our tooltip, and we're going to put this at, say, 90 degree. Oh, sorry, 180, let me see. 180 does not work. Okay, so I guess we have to work it this way. 90 degrees. Oh, 90 degrees works. All right, so we can say I have put them together, but they're individual shapes, right? So I've put them together, and I probably want to add the radius to this a bit, and I think I am good this way. Add a bit of radius to this too. I think it's perfect like this. Right, so tip N. So now what I want to do now is, you see these guys are separate shapes. I want to make them one shape. All I just have to do is select both of them together and union. Sorry, I clicked subtract, union. So when you make them a union, they become one shape, right? It's a union of two shapes together, triggers. So I do that, I create a union. So I'm creating my tooltip. Now I want to probably change the color of my tooltip for now to white. I don't know how it's going to look like in my graph yet, so I'm just creating the tooltip from scratch. So what I want to do now is I want to infuse an amount in this tooltip, but then I have to turn it to a frame first. So people like to use groups, but I like to use frame. You can use groups, you can use frame, whichever one you want, but I like to use frames. So I'm going to frame this tooltip, but I always call it tooltip, right? So in my frame, I have my union. Also, I need to have my text. So just to save us time, I'm going to drag one text from here that we are using and bring it down here. And I'm going to resize this to, say, 16. All right. So it's 16 now, right? So this is going to be the price of BTC. Price of Bitcoin at that connection, Bitcoin worth $30,000 at that point. So you can see that this is too large. So I probably might reduce it to medium. I think medium is fine. Medium is fine, yes. So I'm going to duplicate this text by using my command D. or Windows Control D if you're using Windows. Long D. I've duplicated that, so I'm taking this up and I'm going to change this to the date and the time. So the date and the time, let's say, no, not the date, just the time, because I said we are working with just the hour. So we are going to say this is 9:45. I mean 8:45 a.m. No problem. All I want to do is I just want to change the color from being from black to say gray. I will touch this gray. I think this gray is fine for me to use. So I'm creating the contrast between these two, right? So you have the amount etc is, right? Yeah, and then you have this, but then I need to change this from medium to regular and probably move this to semi-bold. I think semi-bold will work here, and then reduce this to maybe 14 because we need to create an hierarchy, right? So this is 14, and while this unit is 16. They're both on the same line. Let me see the spacing between them. Spacing between them is 5. I want it to be 8 because I like to work with units of 8. So this is good. I think this is good for now. Right, so we have our tooltip, but one thing I want to do now is I'm going to reuse this tooltip multiple times, right? So I need to make it a component. So I quickly make this a component. So this is my tooltip a component, and I need it in my graph, right? I need my tooltip in my graph. So I'm going to pull this out, right? And then move it into my graph. So I have one tooltip here. I duplicate this. I have another tooltip here. I duplicate this. I have another tooltip here. I duplicate this. Another one here. I could use only one tooltip, right? Or better, let's use only one. I think one will make more sense. So let me delete this tooltip. I think one will make sense. I could use only one. I could use multiple. But just so I'm not to confuse you, let's use one. So one tooltip is enough for this tutorial because I'm trying to make it as simple as possible for everybody, professionals and people that are just learning Figma. So I have one tooltip here, and then I have one graph content here, right? So what am I trying to do? What I'm trying to do is once I touch on all these points, I want my tooltips to appear, right? Once I touch all these points, my tooltip will appear and tell me, oh, Bitcoin was so price at this time of the day. Do you understand? So that's what this is for. So now what I need to do is duplicate this graph. Now my animation starts. This is where the real animation starts. I need to duplicate this. So I'm duplicating this. I'm going to put it beneath because I want us to see what's going on. I want us to see the magic that is going on. So in this first one, in this first graph, and I have to go back to the first graph. I still have to work on the first graph. In this first graph, what I need to do is I need to go to my graph mask. Remember, we created a graph mask, right? Go to my graph mask, select my rectangle in the first graph that I made. Select my rectangle and hold my shift button with my left arrow. A shift button and my left arrow. So I want to move the rectangle away from the mask. So as you can see, that is what I'm doing, moving my rectangle away from the mask, right? So I have successfully removed my rectangle from the mask. The next thing I want to do now is I'll select my pointers and my tooltips. I select all of them and I want to change their opacity, their pass-through to 0, meaning they will not be visible anymore. So 0, perfect. So what you are going to be seeing now is an empty frame. There's nothing in this frame. I mean, there's something in this frame, but you can't see everything that is in this frame because one, I have moved my rectangle off the mask and I have turned off my tooltips, right? So we are getting there. So this is graph 1. I'm going to name this graph 1 and I'm going to call this, graph 1. And I'm going to call this graph 2. So you'll see where I'm going to now. So in graph 2, I want to turn off tooltip. I want to make it 0, change opacity to 0, right? And then I also for the pointers, I want to change the pointers to 0. So basically, graph 1 is an empty, it's not empty, it's an invisible graph. There's an invisible graph in graph 1 frame, right? Which is that rectangle that I took off the mask, right? But now if in graph 2, where the animation starts. You see, oh, graph 1, an empty frame, an empty mask, the rectangle then moves in animation number 1. We allow the rectangle moving. So what I want to do in this instance is I want to come to prototype and see something like after delay, see 1000 milliseconds, which is 1 second. Smart animate, ease in. I want ease in. Okay, let's do ease out. Ease out, see 500 milliseconds, which is half of a second, right? I want it to ease out in that manner. So let's preview this and see what happens. As you can see, you saw the animation, right? I can restart the animation so you can get the hang of it. So let me play it again. You see that? So I have gotten animation 1, but then I don't like the way it moved. It moved too fast. So I probably might want to probably make this also 1000, take it to 1000. So, and let's play that again. Let's see. Yeah, 1000 is a bit better, right? So I like that 1000. So what I want to do in graph, what I want to do now is select graph 2, right, and duplicate it, Ctrl D. So it's going to graph 2 is now going to, we are now going to have graph 3 because we duplicated it. Ctrl D on Windows, Command D on Mac. Remember that. So what I want to do now is at this point, this is the third stage of the animation. You have to select all the pointers. This is the point where all the pointers become visible, rather. In graph 3, we have to select all the pointers in graph 3. So let's come to graph 3, select all the pointers from here to here. Come down here and change the opacity. You know, we move the opacity from 100% to 0. Now we have to return it back to 100 in graph 3. Remember, graph 3, 100. So they are visible in graph 3. So in this from graph 2, we now go to prototype again. From graph 2, we now see we have to maintain the same consistency after delay. But this after delay now, we can see this should be 500, or we can say this should be 300, and then ease out. We can reduce, this one necessarily does not have to be slow. We can leave this as 500 milliseconds. So we have graph 1, graph 2, graph 3. We are not done. We still have more graphs to do. So now we are going to duplicate this, and now we have graph 4 here. So we are going to bring graph 4 down here, all right? And now in graph 4 is now going to be where we are going to be tapping on, from where we are going to be tapping on each pointer that will now tell us, oh, this is how much Bitcoin was at this particular point of the day, right? So in graph 4, I'm going to turn on my, I'm going to make the opacity of my tooltip be 100%. So I am assuming that I have hovered on this, or I have clicked on this that's giving me this response. So what do I want to do now? What I want to do now is I want to go to my prototype from graph 3, click on the pointer, select the pointer itself, and create a connection from the pointer to graph 4 and see on click, right? But I don't want it to be on click. We can use on over, or on click too can work, but let's stick with on click. So on click, we are going to see is out 300. How to reduce this on click is out 300. So what this means is once it loads to graph 3, to the point of graph 3, once I click on this, it takes me to graph 4. So what I want to do is I want to duplicate graph 4 now. Graph 4, and then when I duplicate it, it becomes graph 5, right? So on graph 5, what we want to do is we want to move this tooltip to the next pointer. So we move it this way to the next pointer. Simple as ABC, right? So what you want to see here is we want to select this 2 pointer from graph 4. I'll select this 2 pointers from graph 4 and see on click is out 300 to graph 5, right? So basically I've selected the pointers from, if I click on graph 3, if I click this pointer on graph 3, it takes me to graph 5. if I click this particular pointer here, it takes me to graph 4. You understand? So that's the idea around this. So now we keep duplicating. I will keep doing the same thing. We move, we duplicate. So we've successfully done all of this. So we literally have 10 graphs. So what I would just want to do is I probably just want to change the timestamp and the amount on each one of them. So I probably, let's see, this in the first instance was 8:45. So let's say this would be 9:30. Let's say this would be 9:30 and Bitcoin was 30,900. And then we come down here, change this to maybe 10 or 10:15. 10:15 is fine. Let's work with 30 minutes, 10:15. And we change this to say, let's say Bitcoin suffered a loss at this point, $29,000, right? Bitcoin suffered a loss at this point to $29,000. It drops to $29,000. And let's say here at this point, down here. So I think everything, if you notice, all my pointers are pointing to one graph or the other. As you can see, all my pointers on all the graphs. So what I want to do now is I want to select all of them from graph 1. Select all the frames from graph 1, and I am going to change them to, I'm going to create component sets with them. That's, I'm changing them to a component. So it's variants, right? So these other graphs are the variants. The name is a graph, and all these graph 1 to graph 10 are variants, different variants. So create component sets, and as you can see, I'll name this as graph. So good. We have created our graphs here. So I'm going to set Control C. I'm going to select graph 1. Control C, and then come down to that frame that we created initially. So you see that frame is going to become important in the end of the day. And we're going to do Control V up here, right? So I have pasted it in that frame. And what I want to do is I want to make it in the center of the frame. All right, so here we go. Now let me change this to the second variant, which is the loaded variant. All right, I've changed it to the loaded variant, and then I want to bring it down here. So in my frame here, I want to create timestamps for my frame. So all I just need to do is probably pull out, duplicate this text here, and pull it out. Duplicate it, pull it out, put it somewhere here. Bring it into this frame. So it is inside the graph, the main graph frame now, right? The main graph frame itself, it is inside. So I'm going to select all of them. So what I want to do now is turn on move to graph 3, which has all the pointers, right? Graph 3 has all the pointers. So I want to put this somewhere like here to show the beginning of the timestamp. Then draw this to the next pointer, right? Then drag this to the next pointer. So I literally would do this. You don't necessarily need to be on the pointers though, but then the idea is just to create, a timestamp between then and then. So what I want to do is select all the timestamp I have created, shift, and put them in a frame, and auto layout frame shift A. So I've put them in shift A so they would have the same spacing. So as you can see, I have different time here. So I can just change the time now. So 8:45. You can make this say change this to 9:15. All right, 9:15 a.m. Do the same thing again. 9:45. Do the same thing again. Yeah. Let's see. 10:15. Let's just skill. This names. Paste and then changes to the first I love. Yeah. So I think we're good to go. One thing I probably want to do is I want to reduce this to 64. You know, I told you I like to work with 8, so being that 64 is divisible by 8. So here will be like 12. I mean, sorry, I put 12, so go to 12:15. So here we go. We already have our timestamp here. I'm not done. I don't like, one thing I don't like about this is I think I need to create I need to make this an auto layout content, right? I want to make this an auto layout content. I do not like the what's it called? I do not like the fact that I do not have padding on the left and on the right, right? And I need padding on the left and on the right. So what I want to do is select my graph frame itself and then Shift A, turn it to an auto layout. Select my graph frame and Shift A, turn it to an auto layout, and I'm going to call this container. So in my container, I have my graph item and I have my dates. Okay, timestamp, not dates, timestamp. And one thing I want to do, it's my timestamp. It's okay. If you notice now, it is stretching beyond where I wanted to stretch. So I'm going to reduce this. I'm going to turn some all contents to a fixed. All container to a fixed container, and I want to give this a padding of 16 because I already created a 16 padding here. And if you notice, this container has a 16 padding. Okay, I didn't create a 16 padding for this, so I have to maintain consistency and create a 16 padding for this, right? So I'll call this 16. And I'm going to, if you notice where I moved it to 16, before I move it to 16, let me go back and make it a fixed container, and then I make it 16, right? So there's a padding of 16. What I want to do is I want to make this fill the container. I'm also going to make this button fill the container, right? So I maintain the same consistency between these two containers. So that's what I'm trying to do here also. I'm trying to do the same thing here by maintaining that same consistency. So there's a 60. What I want to do in this instance is I want to make this guy fill the container. So it's going to be, I'm going to make the my component fill the container. If you notice, I have my graph in here that doesn't fill the container. That's not a problem. We can leave that as that. But the main one I really needed to work on, I have worked on it. So another thing I want to do here is I want to make the same design I made here, which is adding all of this price, the border that you can see with the gray color. So I probably will just come down here and click on stroke, and my stroke, choose my stroke color. So my stroke color will basically be the gray I am using here. right? Great, I'm using a radar. So I think that's good. I think this makes sense. So what's the size of my radius here? My border radius here is my corner radius here is 16. So I'm going to make this 16. So the corner radius of this container 16. You see everything is beginning to fall in place in bits, right? So let's look at that. My border radius 16. That's I have my curve. So that's what I was trying to achieve by creating that pattern I said I was trying to create earlier. Alright. So now I have my graph here ready for me. But I am not done yet. I mean, I need to tell people that, oh, okay, I am checking for the last 1 hour and I'm checking for the last 24 hours or the last 1 day or the last 6 hours. So what I need to do now is I probably will just bring this guy out, duplicate it. I'm holding my option button. You hold the option button, select a content, hold your option button and drag. That is how to duplicate easily, or you use your Command D for Apple users, or you use your Control D for Windows users. So I've clicked on this, and then what I want to do is I want to change this to 24 hours, right? And I'm going to reduce the size of this guy. It's too large. I'm going to bring it to 16, and I'm going to make him regular. You see what I'm trying to achieve right now. Or maybe 24 hours is too long, but I'll just say 24 each, right? 24 each, which means 24 hours. And then I'm going to put it in an auto layout container, Shift A, an auto layout container, and I'm going to call this period. So now I've called it this period. All I need to do is fill this container with a color. So color of our product, color we are using for this product is blue. So I'm going to select the blue that we are using for this product, which is this blue, right? Change the text to white. So I think we are getting somewhere. And then the radius, I can then make it something like this. So here we go. We have our period, our 24-hour period, our 24-hour period. I will duplicate this into scene 3 or 4, and then I'm going to change this to 1W, which means 1 week. Change this to 1M, which means 1 month. Change this to 6M, 6 months, and then the last one. It might not be the last one, 1Y, which is 1 year, and then the last one, Ctrl D, change it to all. That's the all-time history of Bitcoin, right? So all I want to do is select all of them, choose A, put them in another, and I'm going to call this container. All right. Another thing I want to do is I probably want to reduce this to maybe say 8. I think 8 is a fine number. And then another thing I need to do is I need to add a padding on top, a vertical padding and an horizontal padding. So I want to give this a vertical padding of 4 and an horizontal padding of 4 too. So I also want to turn off all these colors for these guys. Remove the colors for the remaining one apart from the active one, which is the last 24 hours, right? So I've successfully done that. Sorry about that. I've successfully done that. And another thing I want to do is I probably want to add the backgrounds to this. Maybe blue might not work. Maybe we should work with black. I think using blue ultra might not be great. Or we can use off blue. Just to, give it a bit of unique feel, right? So perfect. I think it's perfect like this. So what I want to do now is I want to give this container a background. So I'm going to fill this with a background, probably a gray background. Yep. I think the gray is ash, but then I can't tell because it rhymes with the background of my Figma container, of my Figma design area. So what I want to do is that I want to bring this guy out here. I'll put it in this Bitcoin frame, right? So what I need to do is just Ctrl X and paste it somewhere here. And I want to move it to the end, right? So we have 2 of them in one frame. And I want to change this guy to an auto layout, Shift A, right? And if you notice it's giving me this, I don't want this. This is too much. I'll just change it to auto. Of that. And another thing I want to do is I'll still change the color of this and add a radius to this, a corner radius. So let me see if I can add a corner radius of 16. 16 is too much. So what's the corner radius of this guy? 5. So maybe I put this guy at 4. I don't want 5. And then change this to 8. 8 and 5 on the inside. They're 4 on the inside. So that's that on that. Another thing I need to do is I want to change the color. I feel it is too dark. So I want to use the color I used here. So, and then also the text in there are white. And just select the entire frame. Text are white. I didn't need to select the entire frame. I need to select the individual frame. So change them to black. I think this is good. So here we go. We have our graph ready for us to explore. So basically, what this is our period that tells us, well, in the last 24 hours, this is what Bitcoin does. And then this timestamp, we can then scroll. So this should be a scrollable timestamp. But then they are not doing all of those in this section because, I mean, we do not have that time, right? So now back to our tooltip. Let me see. I want to go to graph 4 and see what our tooltip will look at. Now, if you look at this, our tooltip is not showing the color. I mean, it's showing, but the color is not great, especially for. And you know, one thing about UI design is you have to design it for accessibility, right? The design has to be accessible for everybody. I mean, colorblind people and all of that, right? So this will not be great for colorblind people or people that use glasses or they can't really see what's going on here. So what I need to do is come down to my tooltip container itself, and I probably will add an effect, which is going to be a drop shadow effect. So I'm going to edit my drop shadow effects now. Sorry about that. My drop shadow effects. So, to bring it to somewhere visible. So yeah, so this is my what I'm trying to do right now. Let me increase the blur. And let me see, when I increase the blur, what did it say? Right. I think we are getting somewhere. But I think it's too harsh. So probably I bring this down to 10%. Let me see. Oh, I think 10% is perfect. Then make the X. Let me make this 0. Let me see. 0 on both sides, 0 on the top, 0 at the bottom. So that means I can send this to, let me see what 25% will look like. 25% still looks harsh. So let me do 20% here. I think 20% is a good, something good. And another thing I probably might do is change this text, or I might leave it, you know, I could change it to blue to mark the brand, right, that I am working with. But then let's leave it at black. So I think our dashboard is ready for us to use. So one thing I want to do is I want us to send this to the default graph, which is graph 1, right? I just needed to see how it will look like, that graph section. So I'm sending this to graph 1, which is this. And what I want to do now is I want to play this prototype for us. So we are almost done. We are there already. So I'm going to play this prototype for us, and let's see what we get. So you can see, perfect. We are not done. So if I click on this, you see, click on this, you see, click on this, you see, click on this, you see. That is how this works. That is how it works. So that is how you create an animated graph of Figma, right? That's how you create an animated graph of Figma. But then we can make this a lot more interesting. Let's make this a bit more tasty. I think I like tasty. So what I want to do right now is I want to make the entire dashboard animated, not just the graph. So let me drag my tooltips away from my components away from here, because I'm going to be duplicating this dashboard home screen. All right, so what I want to do is I want to duplicate this guy into desktop 2 and desktop 3. So now I'm going to come to, so I've duplicated the same screens, right? All of them are the same. So I'm going to come to desktop 1. What I want to do in desktop 1 is, watch me closely. I select my sidebar menu, and then I hold my shift and my left arrow and move it out of the frame, right? I do the same with this guy, move it on top. But this one, I'm not going to be selecting my left. I'll be selecting my arrow that points up, and then move this up. And then this, I'm going to move this down. And then this, okay, and this. So one thing I didn't do, right, was I didn't make this guy sit on 24, a spacing of 24. You know, I told you consistency is important. So I'm going to change this to 24 right now. I'm going to do the same thing for this other two. I change them to 24, change this two, select two of them and look at the spacing between them, 24. So basically I have a spacing of 24 between these three containers. Spaces of 24 between three of them, which is very, very important. But I think, it has moved to 27, so I need to arrange them to 24. 24, do the same thing here. Tidy them up, and spacing should be 24. Spacing is 24. For those of you that probably missed it, the spacing is 24 because I already have the 24. I need consistency, right? So this container here already has 24 horizontal spacing. So the vertical spacing between all the components there should now be, 24, right? So that's why I did that as that. Just in case you're wondering, consistency is very important in design. So another thing I want to do is, let me come back to this my frame 1. I think I can make the animation a lot better. So what I need to do is come to my frame 1 and select that second container. Where is it? Yeah, this one here. Bring it back up, right? So if you notice in this frame 1, it is an auto layout container, right? All I need to do is I want to turn off the auto layout container. Don't worry, it's not going to affect this ones on this other side. So I turn off the auto layout container. I want it to come I want them to like merge. I don't want it to come from the bottom. I want them to like come together from the left and the right, right? So I'm going to take this and move to the left. One thing I want to do here is I want to turn the opacity of this guy to 0. Take this guy here and move to the right and change the opacity to 0. Oh, sorry. Change the opacity to 0. So I think I'm good. So for this, my graph, and for this guy here, I'm going to just change the opacity to 0. I'm not going to move them. Or better still, maybe I can move my graph that from, my graph can come up a bit, and I change the opacity to 0, right? And this, I change the opacity to 0. I don't move the title at all. The header, I change it to 0. So now my desktop 1 is like a blank frame, right? So what I want to do right now is, I probably might not need desktop 3 in the end of the day, but I might need desktop 3. But then I don't think I need desktop 3, so let's take out desktop 3. We don't necessarily need it. So what I want to do now is click on desktop 1 and see after delay, I'm going to change it to after delay 2000. Okay, let me use 1000. Right, after delay 1000 is out 300. So let's play this and see what we get. You see the video came out, right? Let me replay that. But I don't like it, it's too fast. It's too fast. Right? It's too fast. So I am going to come back here and then I'm going to edit that. And I'm going to change it to let me change the animation to a custom. Let me use custom bezier here. I think custom bezier will make a lot of sense, right? Custom bezier, sorry. And then put this to say 1000 milliseconds. I want it to be a slow animation. So let's replay that and see. You see, I think I like it now. But at the same time, if you notice something is wrong, our graph is not animated yet. Why we need our graphs to be animated? Why is our graph not? Our graph is not animated because of timing. So remember when we created a connection between component 1 in the graph, which is here, we set the timing to be after delay 1000, and this from screen 1 to screen 2 is after delay 1000, which is not going to be great. Or better still, I can change the delay here instead of changing the delay here from 1000, right? I can instead change my desktop delay here, and I'm going to change this from 1000 to say 100. I think 100 is fine. So let's come down here. So I'm going to reload by pressing R. Boom. We're good to go. So here we go. We have our prospects graph. So that is that about creating an animated graph on Figma. I hope you liked this video, and I hope you found this insightful. Please do well to like this video if you found this insightful, if you found this interesting. Please do well to like this video. If you've not subscribed, please do well to hit the subscribe button. It really helps a lot, it encourages me to do more videos. So thank you for staying with me through this tutorial. See you in the next tutorial, hopefully soon enough. I'm not going to disappear for a long time this time. Thank you very much, and to enjoy the rest of your day.